Hi there. Welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise. Tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today we are playing low to the mat, focusing on deep stretches to really target those tension hotspots in the body. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, and feel comfortable to ease your way into child pose or pause the stream should you need to take a rest. You ready to play? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class, easing our way down into staff pose, Dandasana, sitting up nice and tall towards the top end of the mat. I'd like you to check that you're not hanging off your tailbone. Move your bum flesh out the way. Sit up nice and tall so that you can feel both of your bum bones firmly grounded into the mat. Shoulders are stacked over the hips and you're drawing up softly along the inner thighs and the lower abdominals towards your chest cavity. Start softly drawing up along your quads from the kneecaps and see if you can lift the feet to float just off the mat. Arms are long and lengthened in front of you, and then start giving me a little circular release simultaneously through the wrists and the ankles. Then change it up, move in the opposite direction. Keep that nice tall seated stack. Keep drawing up along the inner thighs and the lower abdominals. Then softly brace through your feet, brace through the hands, and then toe out through the toes as you drop the fingers down, bracing into the hands and the toes simultaneously. Keep that nice tall seat as you're playing with the feet and the hands. Let's do two more, and then we'll use some spinal rolls to mobilize the spine and come into a supine position. Maybe beginning sitting up nice and tall with your knees bent, feet softly connected to the mat, bracing softly on your shins, or you could hold behind the thighs if you prefer, whichever feels good for you today. Sit up nice and tall, take a big breath in. On an exhale, nod your chin to your chest, round up through the spine, almost as if somebody was pushing on your chest bone. Rock back as far as your shoulder blades and back up. And start really gently, maybe keeping the feet connected to the mat as you rock back and forth. And then maybe starting to hold on the shins. Make sure you're rounding up through the spine. Let's do two more, and then we'll end on the back, and we'll take it into a little bridge line. Bend the knees, connect the soles of the feet to the mat. Make sure you're in a neutral spine position with a little space between your lower back and the mat. Take a big breath in to prepare. Start with the arms long and lengthened at your side. We're going to float them as we come into the bridge. Take a big breath in to prepare. On the exhale, tilt your pubic bone to the 12 o'clock position so that your lower back imprints into the mat. And start disengaging one vertebra at a time, peeling up into the bridge line and simultaneously floating your hands overhead so that the hands land on the mat behind you as you reach the apex of your bridge. Stay here for a beat or two, looking for those tension hot spots, maybe in the hips, maybe in the glutes, wiggling if you need to, and then settling into that stretch, pushing off your feet, drawing up along the inner thighs, engaging your quads, your hamstrings, and your glutes. Keeping both hip bones piped up nice and high towards the ceiling with your chin nodded softly towards your chest. Keep your hands where they are on the mat behind you as you slowly start peeling down one vertebra at a time, reconnecting to the mat. Don't rush your descent. Feel each little nodule of the spine, almost rounding out and hollowing your belly so that your lower back connects, and then bring your spine back to neutral as the bum bones connect to the mat. Keep your arms long and lengthened overhead and start dragging into the big toes, bracing, and then stretching into your toes and your fingertips, taking a nice little long stretch here, holding that neutral spine position and fusing your belly button to your spine. Then on an exhale, softly hug the knees in towards the chest and start playing with that movement dynamically. Inhaling to allow the knees to draw away and exhaling to squeeze the knees softly in towards the chest. Getting a little rocking motion into the lower back. You could even bring your nose up towards the knees as you take that little stretch. Maybe playing with a nice little shooting breath through the mouth. Pavanmuktasana, getting rid of all that stale air in the lower viscera. Let's do 2 more, and then we'll come back to that long stretch, but we'll play it up. This time, interlace the hands, invert them, push them away, drag those feet, and then brace and kick into the heels of your feet and the heels of your hands. Coming out through the hip bones, maybe stretching side to side, just off center, opening up through the ribs. Play it up. See where you're feeling those tension spots. Identify them in your body. Then bend the knees, draw them up into a tabletop position. Arms are long and lengthened at your side, and start tracing 2 circular patterns with the knees away from each other. Keep your breathing soft and long, and then change it up and move in the opposite direction. Internally and externally rotating through the hips. We're going to end in a little hanging butterfly or frog line. Think of bringing the soles of your feet together. From neutral spine, scoop to peel up, aiming for your ankles and holding the ankles as you hug the heels in towards your perineum and holding that little scooped frame, almost as if somebody had thrown a ball in towards your belly and you'd hollowed out your belly around that ball. Then drop the sole of the left foot to the floor and hug the right knee in towards your chest, peeling your body back down to the mat. If this feels good, you can scoop to peel up, thinking nose to me. Then peel back down to the mat and come into half a happy baby on the right. Reaching for the undercarriage of your right foot, bringing the knee in towards your chest, trying to get the top of your thigh as flush to the chest as you can. And as that knee comes in towards your chest, allow it to softly splay around the chest and aim for your armpit. But try not to roll or rock all of the weight to the right. Try to keep the weight distribution on both sides of the spinal column even on both sides. From here, we're going to bring it into a figure 4 position, Kapokasana. Take the right ankle and rest it atop the left thigh, allowing the right knee to open up to the side of the room so that your legs resemble a figure 4 shape. Keeping that figure 4 shape, take a big breath in and start drawing the left knee in to 90. Keep softly pulling that left knee in towards your nose. Stay or play. Take a big breath in, scoop to peel up, wrapping around the left thigh. And then ease your head and your shoulders back to the mat, trying to keep your shoulders and your neckline as soft and relaxed as you can, while simultaneously drawing or pulling the left knee closer towards your nose. Keep the arms long and relaxed. Keep your breathing long and relaxed. Unbind and come back into your half a happy baby on the right. The legs should feel a little bit more released now. Really tug down. And you could use a belt or a strap on the undercarriage of the foot, or just hold onto the back chain of the leg and squeeze it in if the foot is not accessible to you today. Play where you're comfortable. Keep thinking of that weight distribution being equal on both sides of the spinal column as you find Ardha Ananda Balasana, half a happy baby. Then tuck back into that figure 4 position, Kapokasana, thinking knee to nose, scoop to peel up, and then extend the left leg, having that foot nice and flat as if you were kicking the ceiling away, and then peel your torso back to the mat, starting to draw the whole extended left limb closer towards your nose while making the right knee heavy away from you. Hold that stretch. Watch that you're not tensing through the jaw or the neckline. Then keeping that figure four position, and if your pants are very slippery, maybe tucking the foot in closer towards your leg line, drop the arms long and lengthened at your side, and start dynamically lifting and lowering your figure four legs, hovering them just off the floor. Then you're going to use that momentum to push off your palms and come up into a seated figure four, tucking the heel in closer towards your perineum and almost coming into a half lotus line so that you're not putting too much pressure on the femur bone with the top of that foot. If this feels really uncomfortable, you could always reach for a block and just wedge it underneath the thigh on the right for a little bit of support, 1 or 2 blocks depending on how much support you need. If you've got a soft scatter cushion or a pillow, you can use that as well. Just sit up nice and tall and maybe brace your left hand on the floor, take your right hand and just push the right knee gently away, not focusing so much on how close that knee is getting to the floor, but rather just on that gentle opening and that deep stretch that you're getting into the hip flexors and the whole groin area. Stay here for a bit. And then you can either stay or play. We're going to try to hold this figure four leg position on the right as we come into a tabletop position. And you can play up the hand position. So you can either give me flat palms, fisted palms, or maybe even spider fingers. I think I'm going to shoot for the spider fingers today and push off the fingers, getting a nice little stretch into the hands. Look at your extended leg, bend the knee, brace into your foot, and then scooch your hips up to the ceiling and just take a nice little stretch here. Thinking of floating your chest up to the ceiling, pushing off your fingertips or your palms or your fisted hands. Hold the stretch here for a bit. And then when you come back down to the mat, try to tuck into a half lotus line. So wrapping the left foot underneath you and softly just folding forward. If coming into a half lotus line is not for you, just tuck into easy sit, stacking one leg in front of the other and fold forward as best you can. If you can't get your forearms to the mat, maybe using a block, play with the dimensions of the block and find a comfortable lean-in position that you feel is working for you today. Hold that soft little forward fold. And then keeping that half lotus line on the top leg, just begin softly extending back into that original figure four shape. If you found that you've creeped to the back end of the mat, especially if you're tall, come back to the bottom end. Make sure that you're tucking that heel in as close towards your perineum as you can and softly just fold forward, thinking nose to knee or maybe forearms or palms to the mat, or playing with that block once more, putting it on the inside of your leg line, finding a comfortable lean-in position, or perhaps using a belt, a strap, or a hand towel, looping it around the foot and aiding you to get into that modified head to knee, Janu Sirsasana. And don't force the stretch. Just relax your breathing, make your body soft and pliant and fold forward. Then softly unbind, rock back, and come into a full happy baby, bending both knees, floating the soles of your feet up to the ceiling. If your tailbone is peeled up right off the mat, make your tailbone nice and heavy into the mat. Start drawing down through the feet. If you can't reach the feet, maybe reaching just for the undercarriage of the thighs and hugging them in towards your chest. Make sure that you're making that tailbone nice and heavy. If you really tense it first, maybe just cradle rock the lower back side to side. And as you feel the lower back area and the sacrum area relaxing, start settling into that deep stretch. Ananda Balasana. Make sure your breathing is long and relaxed. And then ease your way from here back into that hanging butterfly line, thinking of bringing the soles of your feet together, wrapping around the feet or the ankles as you scoop to peel up off the shoulders, hollowing out through your belly and looking towards your toes as you hug the ankles and the heels in as close towards your perineum as you can. Ease your way from here back into happy baby, and then transition by dropping the sole of the left foot to the mat, either keeping that bind around the whole foot, maybe using a belt, a strap, or a hand towel, or maybe taking a big toe lock using your middle index finger and thumb like a little crab pincer and extending that whole right leg, bracing into the heel, dropping your toes towards your nose, and then just using your left arm in a soft half T frame to support your body on the mat. Take a couple of breaths here, trying to give me a nice extended leg line. So rather have the leg further away from you and in an extended line than have it closer to your face but bent. I want you to try to open up that tension spot behind the knee. Let's open up into the B line. Take a big breath in and float that leg open to the side of the room, maybe peeking in the opposite direction, and trying to keep both shoulder blades nicely anchored into the mat, allowing the left knee to softly splay out if need be. Ease your way from here back into happy baby, maybe keeping the bind this time on both big toes and tugging down, or maybe reaching from the inside of your feet. Settle into your happy baby, rocking if you need to. And then coming to stillness, remembering to make your bum bones heavy and the weight placement equal on both sides of the spine. Then trying to keep the bind on the inside of your feet or rewrapping to the outside, come back into that hanging butterfly line, scooping to peel up, stretching through the arms and the shoulders, the inner thighs. Ease your way back to happy baby. Maybe this time pushing down on the balls of your feet as you come into happy baby. And then this time, drop the sole of the left foot to the floor. Find your bind on the right and then begin extending both legs as you find your half a T frame on your supportive side. Try to make both shoulders heavy into the mat. Try to make your sacrum bones heavy into the mat. Belly button draws right back in, almost as if you were trying to fuse it to your spine. And then take a big breath in and float the right leg out to the side as far as you can while keeping yourself anchored on the left. So focus not so much on how wide the leg is opening, but rather on keeping your anchoring side, your left shoulder and bum cheek firmly connected to the mat. Let's ease our way back to the midline. Find happy baby. Finding the bind from the inside, from the outside, or from the ball of the foot. Hold that stretch. Ease your way back into your hanging butterfly. Scoop to peel up. Maybe binding around the ankles again and really hugging those shin bones in as close towards your thighs as you can. And then use this frame or drop your hands to the mat and push up off your palms to rock up into a seated frame and come back to your original position on the mat. Sitting up nice and tall in staff pose, tall on your bum bones, float the heels off the mat and release into the ankles and the wrists simultaneously, keeping a nice high seat. Change direction. And then heel and toe out, mimicking the movement with your wrists at the same time. Let's take it into some spinal rolls, bracing on your shins or maybe behind the thighs. Maybe just 5 little rocks up and down. And we'll end on the back and come into that floating bridge line. Find your way onto the back. Keep the knees bent and drop the soles of the feet to the mat. Find your bridge line. Make sure your feet and your knees are hip-width distance apart and your spine in neutral. Take a big breath in. Tilt your pubic bone to the 12 o'clock position. Imprint your lower back. And then start disengaging the spine from the mat as you peel up into the bridge line, keeping your chin firmly tucked towards your chest and not looking to the side of the room as you come up into your bridge line. Setu Bandha. Take the stretch here, pipe those hips up nice and high. And then keep the arms long and lengthened overhead as you peel back down, mobilizing with control through the spine and the core as you reconnect to the mat. Drag your big toes along the mat, extend the legs and take a little stretch here through your fingertips and your toes. Neutral spine, making your belly button nice and heavy and wiggling into the hip bones if you need to. Then on an exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest and then play with that movement dynamically. Inhaling to allow the knees to draw away and then exhaling to hug in. If this feels good, you can scoop to peel up off the shoulders and almost think of bobbing the nose towards the knees as you tuck into that little ball frame. Maybe giving me a nice soft exhale as you do so. All right, let's come back into that extended stretch, interlacing your hands, inverting them, bracing into the heels of your hands as you extend the legs and brace into the heels of your feet. Maybe taking a little overhead stretch with the hands side to side and feeling a nice opening into the rib cage and more of a stretch into the hips and the hip flexors as you take it slightly off center. Come back to center. Bend the knees as if you were coming back into bridge, arms at your sides, and start floating the knees out to the side of the room, drawing them back towards the midline, and just getting a nice little blood supply into the hips. Then change it up and move in the opposite direction. Find your way to your supine butterfly, scoop to peel up, aiming for the ankles, hugging the ankles, the shins and the heels in towards your perineum as you scoop to peel up. Then dropping the sole of the right foot to the floor, re-wrapping around your left shin, reconnect your head to the mat, and on an exhale, just hug that left knee in towards your chest. If that feels good, scoop to peel up and think nose to knee. Then reconnect your torso and your head to the mat and find your half a happy baby line on the left by bending the knee, floating the sole up to the ceiling, and just gently tugging down and checking where your weight distribution is. If you find that you're leaning aggressively to one side, just connect to your inner gyroscope and try to use your shoulder blades as your balancing point and try to give me the same amount of weight on both shoulder blades. Tuck into your figure 4 position on the left. Take a big breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, float the right knee up towards your nose and hold that figure 4 position, feeling that gorgeous stretch into your left leg. Holding that frame, take a big breath in, scoop to peel up, wrap around the thigh. Once you find your bind, think of lengthening through the arms and just peel yourself softly back to the mat, checking that you're not tensing through the neck, the jaw, or the shoulders. Unbind and find your way back into that half a happy baby line on the left. Bending the knee, whole sole of the foot looking up towards the ceiling as you tuck that knee down and allow it to splay around your chest, aiming for your armpit. Ease your way back into that figure 4 position on the left. Take a big breath in, draw the knee up to 90, stay or play. Scoop to peel up, wrapping around the thigh, and then extend the right leg, bracing into that foot as if you wanted to ward the ceiling away from you, and then peel your head and your shoulders and your whole trunk back down to the mat. Settle into the stretch and take a couple of nice deep breaths here, checking that you're not tensing through the shoulders, the neck, or the jaw. Then keeping your leg line, but letting go of the wrap, dropping the arms at your side, tucking the heel in closer towards your perineum if your pants are slippery. You're going to give me a dynamic lift and lower of that leg. Trying to hover the whole limb off the mat and not tap out. Then use your momentum to push into the palms and come up into a seated frame, tucking that heel in all the way in towards your perineum. Using your left hand to push the knee away. Sitting up nice and tall, or rotating the inner thigh out on your supportive leg if you need to be able to relax and stretch through the groin area. Once again, it's all about dialing into your body, finding those tension hotspots and moving where you need to find the release. All right, we're going to find that little tabletop line, keeping the figure 4 position, and you can play with the hands, either flat palms, fisted palms, or spider fingertips. Sitting up nice and tall, look at your extended leg, bend the knee, connect the sole of the foot, and push up into a modified tabletop line. Pushing off your hands or your fingertips or your fists, floating your chest up to the ceiling, enjoying the stretch. And when you come down, you're going to try to tuck into a half lotus forward fold. Dropping down, taking that right leg, tucking it underneath you as you fold forward, or just come into Sukhasana if you find that that's easier for you. Use a block if you need to, and just softly fold forward, almost as if you were taking a bow and just giving thanks. Then keeping that left leg tucked in nice and tight, you're going to come back into your original figure 4 position. Remember to tuck that heel in as close to your perineum as you can, and just softly fold forward, almost as if you were coming into head to knee, Janusirsasana or Uttanasana, using your block if you need to, or using a strap, a hand towel, or a belt to just softly loop around the foot and find that connection, or maybe just resting your hands on the top of your thighs or either side of that lead leg. Find the stretch, hold it. All right, from here, you're going to gently unbind. You're going to come back onto your back, just giving me a soft roll down to come into happy baby. Bending both knees, coming into full happy baby, rocking side to side if you need to. Lower back, legs should feel a lot softer. And then scoop to peel up, coming into that little hanging butterfly. Trying to hug the shins, the ankles, the heels right in towards your perineum. All right, let's find hand to big toe on the left. Drop the sole of the right foot, to the floor, and find your big toe position on the right, either using your hand or opting for a strap, or maybe holding onto the back chain of the leg as you extend through the left. Make sure that your weight distribution is equal, both sides of the spine. Belly button nice and heavy into the mat. Leg long and lengthened, dropping your toes towards your nose and taking that heel to the ceiling. Then take a big breath in and open the leg up all the way as far as you can to the left. Anchoring through the opposite shoulder, looking over the opposite shoulder, and maybe just allowing that right knee to splay softly out if it needs to today. Ease your way from here gently back towards the midline, coming back into a happy baby, maybe reaching for both big toes and tugging down, or reaching for the inside of your feet if that's going to give you more traction. Rock if you need to. Make sure you're relaxing that lower back area. Make sure that you're relaxing your tailbone, making it nice and heavy into the mat as you find happy baby. If you've got the bind on the inside, as you scoop, try to keep it there Changing the stretch into the arms and the inner thighs just slightly as you find that hanging butterfly line. Ease your way back down to the mat. Maybe keeping the bind on the inside of the feet or coming back to your hand to big toe. Extend your supportive leg. Jawline soft, neckline soft, anchoring through your supportive shoulder. Weight even on both sides of the spine as you find Supta Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana A. Supine, hand to big toe A. Take a big breath in, and then on the exhale, open up into the B line, anchoring and looking over your supportive shoulder. Holding steady here for a couple of deep breaths, maybe closing the eyes, taking your focus in, feeling for those tension hot spots and trying to breathe, relax, and release into them. Ease your way from here back into your happy baby line. Maybe this time reaching for the balls of your feet and tugging down. Or maybe electing to keep the bind on the inside or the outside. Whichever feels the most intuitive for you and wherever you're feeling the most amount of benefit from the stretch. Scoop to peel up, coming back into your hanging butterfly line. And then we're going to use this hanging butterfly to push up and ease your way into a seated frame, bending the right leg and extending the left as you sit up nice and tall. We're going to come into a modified mariachi and we'll change it up today. So you've got the right leg bent and you're extending through the left. Take the right elbow, placing it on the inside of your right knee. Push the knee away and resist as you place the fingertips on the mat in front of you of the right hand and brace with the left hand behind you. Push with the tricep and the back of your elbow against that bent leg and resist so that you can feel that oppositional stretch. Try to sit up as tall as you can. Push softly off your fingertips and don't lean back off the back arm. So use that back arm almost as a splint to lengthen as much as you can through the spine. Hang here for a few breaths, looking over that back shoulder towards the back edge of your mat. Then ease your way gently back to center and allow the right knee to fall open so that you can place the sole of the right foot on the inseam of the left leg. Softly fold forward, trying to bind around the foot if you can, or using the block and putting it around the foot and hugging in, or using the block on the inside of the leg to find your forward fold, or maybe electing to use a strap or a hand towel around your foot to come into the bind. Play with it, see what works for you. Just relax into the stretch. Keep your breathing soft and as long and as lengthened as you can comfortably manage. Peel back up along the center line and reach for the undercarriage of your right foot, coming into a seated half a happy baby, drawing that knee in and aiming it for your armpit. Sit up nice and tall, trying to stack your shoulders over your hips and really tug in. Then keep holding on to the right foot with your right hand and extend the left arm in parallel, reaching long and lengthen through your fingertips. We're coming into an arrow hold. Take a big breath in, and on an exhale, extend your right leg as you float the left leg behind you. You could use a strap and hold on to the strap, or just hold on to the back of your foot the calf or the leg if the foot is not accessible to you. And then come back to the center line and change it up. Maybe reaching opposite hand to foot and twisting your arrow line in the opposite direction. Then keep your left hand where it is, cross the right hand over the left if you can, and come into a modified heron, with both legs long and lengthened in front. Sitting up as tall as you can comfortably manage, binding both hands around the foot and almost floating the elbows out and trying to draw that foot in closer towards your nose. Then from here, we're going to tuck into easy sit, leading with your right leg in front of the left. So tuck the left leg in first, close to your perineum, and stack the right leg in front. Just give me a soft forward fold, maybe trying to connect both forearms to the mat. It should feel pretty comfortable now. The legs should be nicely open. The back should be soft and relaxed. Take a big breath in and peel up along the center line, and then soften the left hand and the elbow, dropping them down towards the floor, and take a soft overhead arc on the right, keeping your Sukhasana easy sit position. Float up nice and tall and take that stretch to the opposite side, making the right elbow and shoulder heavy to the floor and just arcing and framing on the opposite side of the body. Peel back towards the center line, either keeping your leg position or tucking into the half lotus line on the right. Bringing that heel then as close towards the inside of the left hip bone as you can. Softly fold forward, trying to achieve a sphinx-like position, dropping onto the forearms, pushing off the forearms, and sinking the weight of your bum bones back as if somebody was standing behind you, gently pulling your hips towards the back edge of your mat. Peel back up, sitting up nice and tall, and take a soft twist to the right. Opposite hand to knee, pulling the knee in and resisting with the knee as you come into the twist, bracing with the other hand gently behind you for support. Inhale to transition and exhale to take the twist in the opposite direction, pulling with that hand and resisting with the knee as you come in to the twist. Then gently reach with your middle index finger and thumb for the big toe on each foot and tip off your tailbone, coming into a boat hold. Either keeping it in a butterfly line with the heels together, just holding onto your toes and tucking in, or extending both legs simultaneously and coming into a gorgeous little boat line, thinking of tugging those toes in towards your nose and just extending as far as you can through the legs. Pick your poison and hold. Then extend the right leg, bend the left, and come into your mariachi setup on side 2. Taking your left elbow and tricep and pushing against the inside of the left leg as you extend your left fingertips long and lengthened. And then rotate to look over the back shoulder, using the other arm to gently prop you up. Sitting up nice and tall, bracing into your extended leg as if you were pushing the wall at the opposite end of the room away from you. Sitting up beautifully tall and looking for that length in the spine. Then look towards the front of the mat. Allow the left knee to softly splay out and tuck the sole of the foot to the inseam of your extended leg. Softly fold forward, thinking nose to knee. Use your belt, use your strap, use your block if you need to come into the forward fold that works for you. Hold, just soften, thinking nose to knee, making the chest heavy to the top of your thigh. Then softly peel up and find your half a happy baby from a seated position on the left, tucking that knee in towards your armpits and sitting up as nice and tall as you can comfortably manage. Keep your breathing long and relaxed. We're going to find our arrow line on this side. So hold onto the left foot with the left hand. Float your right arm out in front. Take a big breath in. On an exhale, extend the left leg as you rotate through the trunk, looking behind you and extending the fingertips of the right arm long and lengthened behind you, trying to reach with your fingertips for the wall behind you and with the heel of your foot for the wall in front of you. Then come back towards the midline, cross right hand to left foot, and twist or rotate your arrow line. Holding the stretch, bracing into the foot, lengthening through that back arm. Keep the bind on your foot, and then float the back arm over to cross over the other arm, maybe bending the elbows away from you as you think of hugging that shin bone in closer towards your chest. From here, we're going to tuck into easy sit. So bending your extended leg, floating the left leg in front of the right, tucking the two heels in as close towards the perineum as you can, and softly folding forward onto the forearms. Stay here for a couple of gentle breath cycles, keeping your crown heavy to the floor, making your forearms heavy to the floor. Big breath in. Place your right palm on the floor next to you, soften through the elbow and the shoulder, and arc and frame on the left. Almost thinking of using your right ear to gently listen to the floor, whispering the secrets of the universe to you. Peel back up and take the stretch to the other side, softening through that arm as you come overhead. Ease your way from here into the half lotus line, or stay in easy sit if you prefer. Taking that left foot and tucking the heel of the left foot as close towards the inside of the right hip bone as you can, stacking the top of the foot on the top of your right thigh. Just take a soft forward fold. And if you are in the half lotus line, you might feel a nice little massage of that left heel into the whole lower viscera, great for peristalsis and for the whole digestive process and elimination process for that matter. Peel up and take a soft twist to the left, trying to keep that half lotus line. Using your hand to pull the knee and resist with the knee. Let's take it in the opposite direction. Big breath in to transition. Exhale. As you come into the twist, sitting up nice and tall and making sure that you're not leaning all of the weights into one of your bum bones. So shoot for that even weight distribution once more. Come back to the center line. We're going to find our boat line using that big toe, that Padangusthasana lock, tipping the weight off your tailbone, either floating maybe into a soft butterfly line with the soles together holding onto the toes, or going for broke. And extending both legs long and lengthened in front of you as you keep that little toe lock. Marrying your Padangusthasana with a beautiful little Navasana boat line. From here, you're just going to softly sweep the legs underneath you. Ease your way into child pose towards the back end of the mat. Big toes together, knees softly splayed out, arms long and lengthened in front of you. Taking your extended stretch here. Creeping back through the hands, sinking your bum bones back as far as you can. Allow for the knees to softly splay out so that you can really get into that stretch. From here, we'll play with a little stretch sequence on the right. Come through 4-point kneeling and set up a soft plank line. Use the plank line to set up a pigeon line, thinking knee to nose on the right. Then think of that figure 4 shape that you played with, dropping the leg to the mat and either lining up the heel and the ankle in a straight line or tucking in closer as if you were coming into the half lotus line. Relax your back knee and foot. Slide, walk, or creep the back leg away from you. And then start squaring up through the shoulders and the hips and find your pigeon line. If this feels really uncomfortable, perhaps reach for a block and use the very edge of the block, tucking it in to the bum crease on the right and just leaning gently into the block if you need just a little bit of an assist. If you feel good in the high pigeon line, maybe ease your way down onto the forearms or come into full extension, as you find Ekapada, Rayakapotasana, one-legged pigeon, and just ease into your pigeon line. Maybe close the eyes, take your focus in, and try to square up through the shoulders and the hips, wiggling around if you need to, and then settling in. Connect to your gyroscope and try to even out the weight through the shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle. Keep your breathing long and even. Ease your way back onto the elbows and then maybe into your extended arm line. We're going to find our way into a modified lizard line. Tuck the back toe under, bring the knee up off the floor. That floating figure 4 leg in front, you're going to step it wide to the outside of the right hand. Maybe relax the back knee and foot. And then open up that front foot to 45. Wiggle it forward, knife edge the foot, and either stay here, pushing off both palms. The palms should be more or less underneath your shoulder line. If you need a little bit more of an opening through the groin, take the right palm and gently look towards the inside of your right knee and push the right knee away from you. Try to keep that front foot knife edged if you can. Hold. Few breaths here, and then we'll take it into our first monkey guard and we'll play it up today. So place both hands, preferably palm down into the mat, and keep that front foot slightly extended off center, but just straighten up through the foot, maybe bracing into it. Extend the front leg and push off, almost in a cat-like stretch, with your hip stacked over the back knee. So you've got both legs, both hands extended out in front of you. You're hollowing out through your belly. You're pushing off the palms and you're extending your front leg at a slightly off-center angle with the toes looking up to the ceiling. Then come back to the mat and start squaring up through your front foot, bringing the hands either side of the lead leg. Come up nice and tall. Maybe placing your palm or your elbow on your lead leg and just gently leaning forward and opening up the hip flexor and the quad on the back leg. If this feels good, see if you can float the back toes off the mat, maybe reaching for them and just hugging that foot in gently. Start to gently relax that back leg. So don't tense the glute. Soften the glute, relax your quad, relax the hamstring, and see if you can bring the heel in to maybe tap your buns. Then release the foot and tuck the toes under. Your front leg is now more squared than it was in round 1. Frame the lead leg on either side and come back into monkey guard. This time, bring your bum all the way back, just shy of your heels, and extend the front leg out, making your chest heavy to your knee and maybe dropping down slightly through the elbows, but keep them floating and push off little spider fingertips. Keep your belly button fused to your spine. We're going to come back into that quad stretch. Find an almost crescent lunge position here. See if you can reach with either one hand or both hands for that back leg. And remember to just soften through that whole back leg, almost trying to bring that heel in and amalgamate it with your bum. If reaching with both hands is not for you, just use one arm, or maybe just keep the original position, bracing your hand or your elbow on the top thigh. From here, we're going to bring it into a little Gomukhasana or cow face stretch. Relax that back leg, and as you sit back, allow the leg to splay across allow the foot to splay in the opposite direction to your left bum cheek, and sit down just to the side of that foot. Take the front leg, cross over the front knee, knife edging the foot. Try to knife edge both feet and almost think of hugging the soles of your feet in towards your hips as you softly fold forward, thinking nose to knee. If that feels too easy, you can bind the hands, maybe bringing the left hand overhead, placing it palm down between the two shoulder blades, maybe reaching overhead with the right hand, tucking in towards the center line. And then if that feels good, maybe floating the right arm behind you and coming into a little bear grip, pulling up with one hand and tugging down with the other hand behind your back. And then thinking nose to knee, or just keeping it nice and neutral and lengthening through the spine. Play where you're comfortable. Hold your little cow face stretch. And then unbind, ease your way back into child pose. Big toes together, knees open nice and wide, arms long and lengthened in front. Push back and find your extended Balasana child pose. Stay here for a couple of deep recovery breaths. When you're ready, think of finding a plank line. Use it to set up your figure 4 position and set up your pigeon line. Finding the angle on the lead leg that works for you, sliding your back leg away, squaring up through the shoulder and the pelvic girdle, and then ease your way down onto the forearms or come into full extension. Hold the pigeon of your choice, either low to the mat or on the elbows or on the palms. Close the eyes, take your focus in, breathe into the stretch. Try to square up through the shoulders and the pelvis. Keep your breathing soft and relaxed. Don't tense up the body. And maybe easing your way back onto the forearms and the palms. Tucking the back toe under, floating the knee up off the mat. And then repositioning that front leg and finding your lizard line, stepping the foot to the outside of the left hand. Relax the back knee, relax the back foot. Maybe taking that front foot out to 45, wiggling it forward, knife edging it, and maybe just leaning over the front of your mat or using the left palm to push the knee away and maybe just intensify that stretch a little bit more. Play where you're comfortable. We'll bring it into our first monkey guard stretch from here, Ardha Hanumanasana. Keeping that off-center leg position, place both palms down on the mat so that they're stacking underneath your shoulders. Ground the front foot. Keep the back foot soft and relaxed as you round up, pushing off your palm, extending through the front leg, pointing the toes up to the ceiling. Almost think of taking a little bow here, but pushing off your palms and maybe looking towards your perineum as you round out in a cat-like stretch to the shoulders. Then peel back to center, heel toe the foot in, and frame your lead leg on either side with your hands. Coming into a soft crescent lunge-like position, peel up, maybe placing your palm or your elbow on the lead leg. Push away, try to grow your crown towards the ceiling. If that feels good, see if you can float the back foot off the mat and maybe reach for it with your right hand and then hug that foot in towards your bum, trying not to tense through the back leg. So soften that whole back leg from your hip bone all the way down to the knee on the front and the back chain of the leg. Then relax the back leg, but tuck the toe under this time. Frame the lead leg on either side, round out in your cat stretch, and bring the bum all the way back, just shy of your heels, and then soften to the elbows as if you wanted to allow your nose to tap your shin or your kneecap. Perhaps being just a little bit more humble in your bow. All right, let's come back into that crescent lunge position. Either just pushing off your palm and lengthening as you lean forward, or reaching for that foot with one hand or maybe two hands this time. Softening through that whole back limb as you bring the heel in towards your bum. Maybe pressing softly with the heel of your foot into that little pressure point in your bottom. Keep your breathing soft and relaxed. We're going to find Gomukhasana, cow face from here. Relax that back leg. Sit down, not on the heel, so the foot is just tucked underneath you. And then cross the front foot over the bent knee. Wiggle the feet around if you need to, so that both of your bum bones are connected to the mat on this one. And then think of wrapping those soles of your feet in towards your hip line as you fold forward, thinking nose to knee, maybe pausing here for a bit, either electing to stay here or peeling up through the spine, placing the right hand palm down between the two shoulder blades, maybe tucking in that elbow towards the center line, and then taking your underhand grip, finding your little bear grip and pulling up with the top hand and tugging down with the bottom hand, keeping your spine long and lengthened. Hold the stretch wherever you decide to play. Give me a couple of soft breaths here, and then we'll change our orientation on the mat for the last stretch, bringing it into a wide seated straddle, Upavista Konasana. Unbind your legs. Open up into a wide V frame on your mat, opening up the legs as wide as you can comfortably manage. And if you find that you're hanging off your tailbone, no worries. Maybe taking your block and trying to situate your bum bones on the very edge of the block so that you're able to tilt your pubic bone down towards the 6 o'clock position. So that nice and tall. And then think of that Sphinx pose that we played with when we came to pigeon. Try to creep your fingertips forward, coming onto the forearms, and just resting your forearms comfortably on the mat. Bracing softly into your feet, and feel that delicious stretch all the way from the inseam on the ankle, feeding all the way in towards the groin area. Hold that stretch. And if that feels good, take the right elbow and bring it flush to the inside of the right knee. If that's not happening for you, maybe use the block and find a comfortable lean-in position, or place the elbow on the top of your thigh. Hold that stretch, and then maybe float and frame on the left, either keeping it in a soft T or bringing the arm close towards your ear, or reaching all the way, maybe for your pinky toe, and finding a little bind, almost rotating and peeking underneath that armpit towards the ceiling. Find the side iteration that works for you and hold the stretch. Then peel softly back towards the midline. Come back onto both forearms and chill here for a few soft breaths. Breathing into your feet, wiggling through the hips if you need a release. And then when you're ready, try that side variant on the left. Floating the elbow in, pushing with the elbow against the inside of the knee and resisting. Arcing and framing on the other side, maybe holding a T-frame, or bringing the arm closer towards your ears, or reaching all the way around for your pinky toe, finding a bind, or maybe a big toe lock if you prefer. And you could use a belt, a strap, or a hand towel around that foot if you prefer. Hold. Breathing soft and long. Don't tense up your body, relax. Ease your way gently back to the center. Finding your way onto the elbows, or maybe using a block, and easing your way into a comfortable lean-in position. Maybe just closing your eyes for a second or two, floating your hands to prayer. Finding a moment of quiet contemplation to just thank yourself for making time for yourself and for joining me for our deep stretches today. Namaste to you all. Thank you so much for coming out and playing with me today. I really hope that you enjoyed today's class. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Share your comments and your feedback either using the YouTube display or reaching out to me on social media or via email. Remember to subscribe with my notifications on. Have an amazing weekend. I shall see you all for playtime on the mat on Monday. Till then, keep it light.